everyone, it's me, Sean Capri, and welcome to episode 167, I think. I gotta pull up my notes here. 167 of We the GamerCast. It comes to you every Monday on iTunes, Google Play, and mother-loving YouTube. Thank you for subscribing, thanks for sharing, and rating us on iTunes, and all the things you guys do. It's all possible. You're watching this video, by the way, because it's all everybody supporting us at patreon.com, like our platinum executive producers, Corey Hicks at twitch.tv/chicks_18, and my good friend Mr. Mark Moody over at youtube.com/outoflives. Our gold executive producers, Quest for Pixels man himself, Mike BC, and Panache Malloy, and all of our amazing and amazing executive producers. Our new executive producer, Tony Hutchinson, Donnie Reece, another new executive producer, Stephen Iafrate, JoeySplats, Caro Underwood, Dante Bellini Jr., Jared Gauthier, Dude427, Kevin Austin, Josh Borbone, or Bloodborne if you like, Tammi Ryan, Robert Bobby Miller, Tim Aulph, Martini Jean, David Ray, Jesse Armstrong. You guys support so much stuff. It is amazing what's happening with Make Us Better, guys. And I wanted to let you know, in case you didn't know, you can support us over at patreon.com/makeusbetter. And there's 4 things I want to tell you that I do that is supported by patreon.com/makeusbetter. First of all, this show, obviously. The second thing, I stream at twitch.tv/Sean Capri on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday nights, starting usually around 10:30 in the Eastern Standard Time. I'm supported on If We Ran Nintendo and the Xbox Drive, which just rebooted, refueled. It is now with Mr. Luke Lore, the Insipid Ghost, or Insipid Ghost. We have to maybe work that out. So guys, thank you so much. But if you're new, I'm getting way along. Here's the deal. Every week I have sweet hangs with a stranger from the internet, and if you want to be on the show, Edwin will tell you it's very easy. Just tweet me or send a DM. It's Sean Connery. No, it's not. It's Sean Capri. It's Connery. Oh my God, I'm not even redoing this, guys. I'm a little out of breath. It's very smoky here. You know where to tweet me, guys. It's very smoky. The entire province of British Columbia is on fire right now, and you can't even go outside right now. And unfortunately, yesterday I was actually supposed to be doing I did part of a charity bike ride. Some of you remember a fundraising stream we did back in, gosh, was that February or March or something like that? The ride happened this weekend, but they canceled it after I did about 75 kilometers, and I was literally on a bike wearing one of those masks, one of those filtering masks. Not fun. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I was trying to just suck air through this thing, but just filtering out all the smoke and the crap. And ultimately, the medical team was like, "This can't be happening." Apparently, they had a ton of respiratory problems, overloading the medical tents and everything. So they shut the whole thing down. So I got to come home a little early. I put in 75 kilometers on my bike. I felt pretty good. I got that done by about 12:30. So I was feeling really good despite the conditions. But to be honest with you, I'm still kind of feeling like my lungs are I had asthma as a kid. I don't know if you guys knew that. I feel like everybody in the 90s who grew up in the 80s maybe was diagnosed with asthma, and then then everybody got diagnosed with ADD. In my generation, it was asthma. Everybody had asthma. But legit, I had some pretty awful asthma attacks. So I guess they might have been right about that. Anyways, lungs feeling a little full. So I celebrated today by having some leftover carrot cake, and we're just going to talk to you guys for a little bit. I want to give a shout out before we get into today's show. Got a couple things I want to run down with you guys. If that's all right with you. If you you can skip ahead. It's great chat on the other end of all of this with Edwin Garcia. Incredible at ePlays Chords. I want to give a shout out to Ali Mushka for being on the show last week, and I know big things are happening. Follow her at That Little Fly. My goodness, I feel like this show is just on a roll lately. I don't know about you guys, a lot of people creating content out there. You get that feeling, when things are going really well and you're saying the things that you want to say. You're not bumbling over your words or coughing up smoke or anything like that. Things are going well. I think a couple great conversations in a row, starting all the way back. With Sarah was, 2-3 weeks ago, and then Allie was last week, and then Ed this week. It's just incredible, guys. But if you haven't already, if you don't subscribe to Fortress of Nerditude, then you would be unaware that my wife, Chelsea, was on Spencer Stapleton's show. They're talking all about, really everything. I think they're might be getting Chelsea and I to be playing World of Warcraft pretty soon. They talked about Fallout, and they talked about women in streaming and everything. Great episode. We got to listen to that while we drove down to Calgary for the ride. So check it out if you like. Thank you to Spencer by the way, Spencer, guys, check out Fortress of Nerditude just for the audio quality. If nothing if nothing else. Holy crap, man. You got things down pat. Congratulations. I want to thank our new patrons. Donnie Reece, of course, PSVG guru over there. Can't call you that. Ain't no G's. Does that mean there's no gurus in playing Nintendo? Ain't no G's in playing Nintendo. Donnie Reece. We got Tony Hutchinson. I heard Tony leave a voicemail at Nintendo Nostalgia, so thank you for listening and thank you for supporting. And Nick Patrie, another producer. So guys, the dream and the vision continues on, so thank you guys so much for all of that. I'm glad to be home, to be honest with you guys, and motivated to make stuff. Before I sat down to this, I'm trying to like work out my week of how am I streaming, I'm gonna write somewhat of a review. I think it'll be mostly like an impressions, either video or post on WeTheNerdy.com about We Happy Few. I'm just not feeling it, and I can't tell if it's necessarily because I can't tell. I tried it when I wasn't streaming, and I just don't love it. It needs an extra layer of polish that it doesn't have. But I talked more about that on this week's Xbox Drive, so check that out, guys. 2 things I'm geeking out about. Diablo 3, because it's coming to the Switch. I talked to Bobby about this on If We Ran Nintendo on Friday, but I think I'm going to do, if you guys are interested, let me know. I want to do some game nights or something. If you guys have this game on Xbox, I have it on Xbox, we should definitely play, maybe do a little bit of a multiplayer stream at some point this week. I want to designate like Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday as like multiplayer day, and then tackle my single player games on the other 2 nights. So I'm trying to schedule all of this stuff. But I've rambled on long enough, guys. We have an amazing conversation coming right to your ears and your eyeballs with Edwin Garcia. You might know him. You might recognize the name, actually. Janet Garcia was on the show, I think in January, February, something like that, earlier on in the year. Had a great chat with her. Now, her brother, incredible. We're going to talk about music and creativity and being great. And here he is, Edwin Garcia. Man, it's really awesome. I'm like, you know what? I didn't even put together who you might even be until like maybe just a few moments ago, and you're like,
that's hilarious.
I'm like, oh man, because I've been like looking at the Twitter and everything, and I know I want to get into you composing. My brother's a musician, like playing or practicing 8 hours a day, so I want to jump into that.
That's 5 more than I do, so.
Oh, dude, like I don't know, like now he's maybe a little bit different because he got into teaching a little bit too. Like he wanted to figure out a way to make a living with music, and he found that like teaching was sort of like his thing. And my dad's a teacher, and it's this whole other lineage thing.
Cool.
But I wanted to maybe start at the very, very beginning with you, like how, okay, because I'm still not even sure, like how are you and Janet, like what's the connection? Are you guys brothers and sister, or are you like
yeah
okay,
so that's my younger sister. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's my younger sister. That's kind of how I found out about you. She mentioned, oh, this guy, do you know him? Because like just like her, obviously she's more extreme because she's a video game journalist, so she's in the industry more. But I listen to podcasts and check out stuff, so every now and then she'll say, hey, what do you think about this person? And I'm like, oh, I know them, but I didn't know. So I was like, oh, I've never heard of him. And then she checked out your podcast, like, he wants me to talk to him. I'm like, she's like, oh, I think I'm gonna talk to him then because he seems cool. And I'm like, cool. Yeah. And then through her, I listened to your podcast, and yeah, I think this is a really, really great podcast. It's I really enjoy it. I think you do a really interesting take, and it's totally different, and it's always an interesting conversation. And it kind of is that evergreen content where I never know what I'm gonna get or who's gonna come on, but it'll probably be interesting. So I was like, yeah, I think I want to do one. So that's why I just hit you up on the DMs. It's like, let's do this. And
I this is a classic example. I say at the beginning of every show, like, just tweet at me, like, or whatever, reach out, DM. Like, this is like, I had no idea. Like who you were. Like, if you want to be on the show, man, let's do this. Let's get to know one another a little bit. I always like to start, like, we got some pretty sweet t-shirts going on today.
Oh yeah.
I've got Captain America. You've got, I don't even, there's a Smash
bro.
Yeah, man, that's everybody's got to check out the video because that's a great art style.
Yeah, I think I got it for Christmas a couple years ago. But yeah, it's a really cool shirt. I was debating whether to go with this shirt or I was going to go super classy, like literally like a 3-piece suit kind of thing.
It's happened before.
Yeah, because that's why I was going to do it, because that guy did it. I forgot what his name was.
I call him Pete Barbaro.
yeah, Pete. He did it, and then you were like, that's the nicest anyone's ever dressed. And I'm like, you know what? When I go on, I might just try to top it. But then I was like, nah, forget it.
One of these days, I'm going to just like pop up on it, especially for somebody who, like, we don't know each other or anything, like truly strangers from the internet. And I'll just be like totally done with it. Be like, am I on the right show? And completely confuse them. One time, but I don't even know. Honestly, man, I don't even know if any of my suits fit me right now. I was just talking to my wife about like, can we just like declutter? I don't know about
Yeah,
you, but I'm all
I need
about
to get one
decluttering.
tailored. I've always said I'll do that, but I never do it. I just like, if it needs a hem or something, I'll help the cost. But I've always said I'm gonna buy one and then tailor it and then not worry about it again. And I still haven't done that. So
My
yeah,
dad,
same
my
boat.
dad taught me a secret back in the day. He's like, just staple them. Just staple your pants. Nobody notices.
Oh yeah, that's
especially
true.
turn them
That's true.
inside
They're too
out.
long. Yeah, yeah. I used to do that for like 8th grade graduation
Hell yeah,
stuff,
man.
stuff like that. Yeah. Yeah, definitely had some staples on those pants there.
But don't you have to? So where does like music take you in life? Like I imagine because like musicians often get very done up, especially like well depending on like what area of music I guess you're in. If you're kind of behind the scenes composing in a dark room, then
Yeah.
maybe not so much. But I don't know, man. Musicians have a certain style to them as well.
For sure. For me personally, I'm kind of all over the place. Yeah, it's kind of like how far do we go? How far do you want to go back on this?
All the way, man. Let's do it.
All the way.
Yeah, man.
Okay, cool. So
what
I always
was your
had a
first
passion-
music note that you heard?
music note that I
I'm
heard.
kidding,
I
I'm
have
kidding.
no idea.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, but so basically at first I was just an aficionado of music. I just loved music, and I could tell that I loved it more than the average person.
Right.
Because it was all I wanted to listen to, all I wanted to talk about. Like I was just hyper into it, especially at the time when I was young. It was mainly like hip hop music and rap, and my friends like that too, but not like I did. Like I wouldn't shut up about it. Like I just wanted to talk about it
love
and be
that.
about it. Yeah. So I just knew that I was like a hardcore music fan. But I
What kind of
couldn't play
hip hop were we
anything.
talking about though? Like what was playing? Or like let's
At the time, the exact era was like Eminem, 50 Cent stuff.
Oh, okay, okay.
But that's literally when I was growing up. Like
Sure,
the first
sure.
CD I bought was a Eminem show from a Kmart, like a mile from my house. I
Come
walked there,
on.
bought it, and walked back.
Wait a minute, but like, how old would you have been? Like, you shouldn't have been
Like-
buying that.
No, I was like 16, 16 something.
Right,
They
like-
still let me buy it. Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
legally
like it's
they
in
should
that
have.
it's in that zone of like, I guess like what else you're gonna get it from
Kmart
somewhere
was
else.
50-50 with me because I bought it
Right.
that time, and then a few times I tried to buy stuff and they were like, no, and I'm like, you guys were cool last time, and then I'd go back and they'd be like, I don't care. So it would just depend.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me actually. One time I lent. So I used to be a server, and this is a bit of a roundabout story, but I used to be a server. So all of my money that I would spend was all tips, so cash money, right? And so I had lent $20 to a friend to go buy a movie or something at the local Best Buy, and they check every $20 and up bill, right? So they check it, and apparently this was a fake $20 bill that
my
I had
God.
got from my tips. Or from my money or whatever from serving,
Yeah.
and I had lent this over, and so they didn't let him spend it, but they gave it back to him. So
Cool.
he went over to the McDonald's next door, said, "Can I get 2 10s?" They gave him 2 10s. He
Oh my
went
God.
back over and used like 2 legitimate $10 bills.
I got a worse story. Not that I want to top yours, but I got a worse
please
counterfeit
do.
story. My friend, I wasn't working with him at the time, so this was like he was older than me. So he was telling me this story when I got into retail because I used to work retail, and he said that one time he was working the register as a new guy, and he took a fake, I think 2 fake 20s. So same scenario, and then the manager came. After there was too much money in the drawer, they take it out. So in case there is a robbery, they don't take everything. So yeah, he was counting the money, and that's when the manager checks with the register person. Okay, it's $600 I'm taking out, making sure it's all real and all good, and then I take it to the back. And when he counted, he's like, huh? He's like, these 2 20s, do they look funny to you? And he looked at him. He's like, oh my God. He's like, you took them? He's like, what do we do?
Oh
the manager
my
said,
God.
just give them to a customer.
No, that's how this happens. Oh no! Well, obviously
Because
not
then
the
they would have
same
gotten in
20s.
trouble. They would have had to pay it off. So they just
Right.
said, he just said, just give it to a customer. And he did later when someone had like
no.
100 or something. Like,
Do you remember what was funny about them? Because I never got to see the 20 ever again. Once I handed it out
I
to my
didn't see
friend.
it either because
Yeah.
I wasn't working at the time. So he told this story
Oh my
before I
God.
got there. That's happened. I was like, that's horrible.
That's so funny, dude.
Yeah, so that's how it happened.
What
So
retail did you work?
I guess I'll say it. I usually don't like to, but I'll say it. Walgreens. So I used to work like
Walgreens.
Yeah, so I used to work like as a stock guy, bringing in like the warehouses and stuff. And I did that for way too long. I did that for 9 years,
9 years. Holy crap.
from 18 to what would that be, 27?
Yeah, man. Wow. So
9
that's putting
years.
you through. That's putting you through school, or what are you doing in the meantime?
So,
Yeah.
I'll try to give my whole life story in like
Let's do
2
it,
minutes.
man. What do you mean?
So
We got
good?
an hour, man. What are you talking about? You don't need
So,
to be brief for this.
That's true. So basically, yeah. So I had a passion for music, but I didn't do anything with it. And then as time went on, I actually tried to do the hip hop thing, which didn't work because I wasn't very good. But more importantly, I just realized I actually want to be active in it. And then I tried the hip hop thing, but my friends just like I took it seriously, even though I wasn't good at it. Like I practiced, I wrote stuff, I tried to get like, record things. And I had friends who were very talented in music, but they just didn't take it that seriously because they didn't care as much. And once I realized that, I'm like, well, if I want to do this, I'm gonna have to do it on my own then. So from there, I said, okay, obviously you can't go to rap school. So how do you like figure this out? So I said, well, the main reason why I need my friends is because they can produce, and they were good at that. They were legitimately good at producing. They just didn't want to do it because they didn't want to do the work that would take like recording 20 songs and picking them out and play. They didn't want to do all that stuff. So I said, okay, well I need to learn how to produce. So I started literally Googling like, how do you produce? What do I have to do? What do I have to learn? I knew the programs, like the names of them and all that, but I just didn't know like, well, what would that really entail? And the one response I saw on so many like blogs and forums was that you need to know at least one instrument because you have to be able to sonically explain and digitally put in like the notes and like what you're talking, like everything for the production. You have to at least know something. It would really help if you knew an instrument. And since I didn't know anything, I'm like, okay, well I could probably learn an instrument like to that level that I need just to get the production going.
I like for most people that would be like, I guess I'm not producing then because that sounds impossible.
Yeah.
Like,
I was like, no, let's do it.
Like that's a major hurdle. Like that's not just like, well, buy this adapter and you're gonna go in. Like you're fine. It's learn like an actual instrument. So what did you choose?
So I chose what everyone said was the easiest. I chose piano there. So
what?
I got a tattoo.
That's not easy.
Yeah. Well, I think
recorder maybe.
Yes. Well, recorders too. It won't help, but I think piano is the easiest in terms of like I can get you to sound not horrible. Right? Like you can play a trumpet and sound horrible forever because there's intonation and things with your lips. And if you don't understand me explaining it to you, you'll never get it. If I tell you to play middle C, unless you miss it, you can at least play middle C.
Right.
If I tell you to play a C on a trumpet, you could never make it sound right if you're really, really bad. So it's intentionally, it's like at the beginning, it is easier. But yes, as you know, the more you progress, it's very, very hard.
Yeah, man.
So I started with that, with the intention of I'm going to produce for my own rap songs and blah, blah, blah. And then slowly, the piano was basically a gateway drug to like all different types of genres of music and stuff. Because I'm like, well, I have to learn the piano. I have to learn using a beginner book. And then once I did that, like the hip hop thing kind of went away. I just wanted to play
Interesting.
Piano. Yeah.
So it's like this gateway that sort of like kind of went away, but I mean, it kind of led into a totally different style. So what were like the different styles? Was it because the intro books were kind of like leading you into various styles that you hadn't really thought about before? Like why did that happen?
I just liked playing the songs, even if they were like, Itsy Bitsy Spider and When the Saints Go Marching. And they were very easy because I was just starting out, but I was actually enjoying it. And it got to the point where since I wasn't doing those rap projects with my friends because they weren't interested, this was what I was mainly doing. And it became like, I'm just interested in this. And then basically I went from, in like a year, it was crazy. Like in a year, I went through like every beginner book and got to the point where I was playing sonatas like after year one.
Get out of here.
Which is unheard of. Yeah, I haven't met anyone who could do that. Matter of fact, I didn't have my first formal lesson until like a year after. Because then I started taking private lessons. And that's what the teacher told me. I told him my story. I was like, well, I've only been playing for a year, but I've been really serious. I'm really hard, working really hard. I'm trying to go to college for this and do this a career. And they're like, okay. And they heard me play and they were like, they're like, yeah, there's a lot of work you need to do. But they also said, like, I've never heard anyone get to that advanced level with no supervision. Like just looking at books. Like, I don't know anyone who's ever done that. So I was like, okay, that's.
And at least you still had like, it was still a type of formal training, right? Because like, even if you have like a teacher, instructor, or tutor or something like that, they're going to give you books and exercises to do anyways, which is probably the things that you were working on. But I'm always curious for people who are self-taught. I'm a self-taught. I could play a little guitar, but I've got horrible.
Yeah, I know that.
I've got horrible habits. Like some chord changes are not right, and I can't break those habits. Right. I'm always curious for people who teach themselves an instrument. Like, are there habits you had to break that early on?
Well, I was good at a few things on my own. But that's when I did need the instruction, like the proper finger patterns, making sure my hands were had enough endurance to play. Right. I learned those things. It was like I learned the technical stuff. But I was able to play songs that were at a hard difficulty level already because I took my time to kind of go through it. So I think the really good thing about piano is there's so much history that it wasn't too hard to find a book that was good and could guide me. For example, for what you do, like how do you do YouTube videos? That's very hard to find like a really good, everyone agrees this is a good point. good tutorial. You just kind of have to keep looking at videos until you trust somebody, and then then they might have a different and they might have a different version. So like let's say if you're looking up OBS, they might have a different version of OBS. So only part of the information helps you, and they're not actually seeing what you need to do compared to what they're doing, and it just is so much more nuanced. While with the piano, there's been hundreds of years of experience and books that you can kind of find a good balance point. So.
Dude,
so, yeah,
that is such a great comparison, because as soon as you bring that up, I'm reminded of the last probably 2-3 years of just like combing through information. Like I'm like getting to the end, I'm like, this doesn't help me at all. Or I literally just last week I broke something and I looked up a forum like, and just do this and it will totally fix it. And I did it, and I didn't fully understand my problem or what the problem was. So like I went in and did the solution, and it broke it even further. Like if there was ever fixing, I broke that chance because I followed this thing. So man,
that's how I feel with my car. I'm like, I'm just taking it to the mechanic.
Oh, no kidding. I know the guys from Fluxapose. Lucas always is fixing his cars based on things from the internet. I'm like, dude, I'd be putting the brakes on the transmission somehow. Like it would just everything would be broken.
I'm horrible at it, and I don't feel bad, but I wish I wasn't as bad. But I'm like, you know what? I'm not gonna destroy this thing, and I'm just gonna get frustrated for 2 hours on my day off, and then I'm still gonna have to take it to the mechanic. Yes. So let's just cut the middleman.
And then you got to explain all the garbage and the problems the new stuff that you've created.
Yeah, so. I'm like, I moved this, and I think this wire was loose, but I don't remember, and yeah, it becomes a mess. So I learned the piano on my own. Then I went to school for it. I went to a community college because I already graduated high school at this time.
I want to pause for a quick second on this because I feel like you might be able to do this better than I ever could, and that's really why I want to like doing the show, is because people are, they're smarter than I am, they're more articulate, which is great. So I wanted to, because I feel like there's nothing quite like learning a new thing. I think I was just talking about this with Ali about math last week, and I wanted to talk to you about this with music, about like that feeling you get when you learn the thing, like when you like sat down, you get the book, and you kind of like, I think it speaks to the fact that you didn't want to do hip hop anymore. You're like, I'm good with Itsy Bitsy Spider and all these other things. Like, what was that experience like, and what is it like as you continue to grow and progress in music? Can you articulate the feeling that you get when you learn something new and you grow as a musician?
It's the best feeling, probably.
Yeah.
It feels victorious. You just feel like this, like euphoric, like
great
yes,
word.
Yeah. It's a great feeling, and it's not that it's a rare feeling, but so much of practice is kind of negative, because if you're practicing right, you should be practicing what you cannot do.
Right.
So it's just literally like, I could play you a great song right now, but when I'm practicing, I'm supposed to be playing something that I cannot play and trying to figure it out. So it's always coming kind of from a, like, not a negative place, but like a difficult area.
Big time.
So when you break through, even just a little bit, it always feels real good. Yeah. So yeah, it's an awesome feeling. For sure.
I love that. Okay, so that actually now this is, I'm gonna be about me for a quick second, because I only ever play now like songs that I know. I pick up the guitar, I'm like, man, I've been playing this song for 15 years. Like I haven't learned anything new in like forever, because you're right. Like it takes like discipline to go, I don't know what this is. I'm gonna have to like repeat it over and over and over again. I do it just a little. We bought my son just this tiny little baby piano, like this baby grand piano. It's hilarious, super cute, and he loves it. He's gone from like smashing the keys to actually like using his fingers, and he's kind of like
great.
He's far from actually playing the piano, but it's just fun to watch him do it. And I kind of like, I dabble a little bit. He's 16 months this week.
Oh, well, then he's well on his way.
He's just learning the notes, and that like when he hits the thing, then a sound happens, and right next to that is his drum kit. So we want him to do like all of the things, right? So it's great to watch him do that. And as I sort of babble on the little piano, I'm doing like Zelda songs, like all the things from Ocarina of Time.
Yeah, I did the overworld theme for my recent project. I had a project last year called 9 for 9.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I had a project called 9 for 9, and every month starting in April, I did a new song every month. And I kind of used it, we talked about I used to like hip hop, and then I went to like other music. So I have a wide range at this point, because I started with hip hop, then I started with like classical music, then I moved on to jazz, and now I'm actually kind of jazz, video game, other. It's like basically all my genres.
Yeah, man.
So for my first project after graduating, I said, you know what? I don't know what I want to do, so I'm going to do all of it. So it's called 9 for 9. It's every month a new song, so they don't have to be a cohesive record. They can just be little singles. So I didn't do actually like any hip hop songs, but I did like some hip hop like influence, like trip hop kind of stuff. And I did the Legend of Zelda Overworld theme as one of my songs as well. So it's funny you mentioned.
Do you have it? Like, can you send it to me?
Yeah, I can send you a link for sure. I have it on YouTube and on the SoundCloud. So
definitely hit me up. I definitely need to, because I have. I always introduce like I do my little intro, and then we have a musical little
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then it leads into it. It would be amazing to have like your song lead into this
Yeah,
conversation
definitely. You
instead
could
of
definitely
something.
use it. It's up
Oh,
there.
I
I'll send
love
you a
it.
link after this.
That's awesome. Okay, so like let's get into video games a little bit here as well,
Yeah,
because like you got into
love to.
music actually later in life, or at least at the level that you're at later in life than I had thought. Where like so video games was maybe the original love. Is that kind of how that worked out, or where did video games come into your life in comparison to
Uh,
music?
Probably around, well, younger, because video games I do remember very vividly the beginning. Music I don't, because like I mean I probably heard music since I was, when you're a baby you hear
Of
music even
course.
if you don't know. Video games was different. I know exactly when I first like saw a video game for the
Do you
first time.
really?
Yeah, 100%. I really doubt it was earlier. Yeah, it was when I was I would say 3 or 4 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It was my cousin who's a year older than me. It was like her 5-year birthday party, her 5-year-old birthday party. So she was 5, so that means I was 4, and I still remember that. So, and she was playing Super Mario Brothers 3 on the NES at her birthday
Yes.
party. So I get there. We got there not late, but like it was packed, like a bunch of kids. Like I don't know anyone because it's just my cousin, yeah, and like a bunch of kids, and she's playing, and everyone is surrounded by the TV. I mean, I was small, so maybe my perspective was wrong. It felt like 20 kids just watching her play the game. So I'm like, what is that? And I walk up to her, I'm like, whoa, what is going on here? And it just blew my mind. I was like, she's controlling the character, and I
Yes.
still see the screen. I'm like, what is happening? And I don't think she let me play because like the line was long, and I was 1 year older. And when you're a kid, 1 year is like 20 years.
I know.
So they're like, yeah, kid, like I don't know, go get food with your mom or something. So I didn't even play that day. I just saw it, and like too many people wanted to play, so I was just like, whoa. And then the funny thing is, I kind of forgot about it after. Like it affected me, but I was just like, oh, I don't know.
Because like, what else are you supposed to do at that point, right? Like,
Right,
you,
I'm
like,
4, so I was just like, that's cool. And then my mom's like, well, we can't get it, so
Exactly, I'm 4.
go somewhere.
Yeah.
But when I was like, I don't know the year. Let me think. It was if I Googled it, I could probably find out. But it was the year that I think the N64 came out in '96, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it was '96 when I kind of got back into video games. So that was like I was 88, 99. So '92 was the first time I saw a video game. When I was 8 years old, at '96 is when I'm like, okay, I actually want one, like for real. Like, I'm not kidding. So I told my mom and stuff that I want a video game. I want, the N64. It just came out. Everyone's talking about it at school, and I'm like, hey, I want to do this. And they were kind of like, my mom was like, that's a lot of money. I don't know. And I'm like,
Right.
come on. And then my grandma, she was the one who always would like buy me that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
She was still skeptical too. So what they did was they bought me the Super Nintendo, like the mini one they kind of came out with, the Junior.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Super Nintendo Junior, I think it was the name of it. It was
What?
it was just like the last variation of the Super Nintendo they brought out. So it didn't look all squarey. It had like an oval shape. It came with Yoshi's Island. Yeah.
Yep,
It came
totally.
with Yoshi's Island in the box.
Yep.
Yeah. So they're like, it was like
Oh,
$100
Yoshi's
at the time.
Island. Yeah,
Yeah.
man. Good place to start.
It was like $100. So they were like, okay, 300, no, 100, okay, fine. So they basically were like, we're gonna buy you this. If you play it a lot this year, you will get an N64 next year. So I had to prove my gamedom to my family.
It's like the best thing is like challenge accepted. Like, what do you even know what
Yeah,
you're saying
okay.
to me right now?
Yeah, so I got that game. I bought a few other games I don't really remember, but I also back then there was Blockbusters, so I would go like every other week and get
yeah.
some games. And then I definitely proved my worth. So I got an N64 like the following year, and then I stayed on track for the most part after that.
Well, because you have to remember too, like, I don't know, I don't know if it was like you. I feel like we had maybe similar upbringing. My parents were very similar, and like every penny was like, that better be worth it, right? So if you
Yeah,
got a
for sure.
toy, like, especially because these were toys to us, right? And if you bought a toy and you played with it for a day or two, and then like kind of cast it aside, like. Our parents weren't dumb. Like, why you don't want to do that over and over and over again. So video
Right, yeah.
games were, they would have fallen under that
Expensive,
same
yeah.
category of like, this is serious cash. Also, they have to help you set it up. That was the biggest thing for me. Like, my parents
Yeah.
had to help us like actually like plug it in.
Actually, I think my parents pushed back on that. I think they probably helped me with the Super Nintendo, but I know for N64 and stuff, they're like, hey, you wanted it, like you figure it out, my man.
No way.
Yeah. I think for the
man.
N64, I know for a fact the GameCube and PS2 at that era, I was already in high school. I definitely set all that up. They didn't want anything
Oh yeah,
to do.
for sure.
The N64, I'm not sure. The Super Nintendo, I'm pretty sure they had to help. I was 8. There's no way I was gonna figure out like all the cables.
Yeah, back in
but
those days,
yeah.
like for me, it was like my dad would bring home a second VCR, and so we would tape to tape. Like we would go to Blockbuster and rent a movie,
Nice.
and like tape to tape stuff. So
Ah.
that's where we started to kind of learn like what the cables did all back there because it was such a
Okay.
mystery. And
I
then
didn't even think about that. That's a great idea. My dad would record like old soccer games, but he wouldn't. We never thought about the tape to tape for. My
In and
dad
Out,
even had like a
man.
little. He had a little car, like
Oh, the VCR
VHS car.
reminder. Yes.
Yes, yes, he had one of those to just pop it in there, and you don't have to do
Hmm.
the whole turn the TV on and press the button for 2 hours. You know.
The things that made our lives convenient before, like we needed this separate sort of appliance to put
Yeah,
in
he
our
had that
VCR or
little
VHS
car on
tape.
the floor, and you would just press it, and boom, done
How
deal.
many people? I want people like leave a comment in the YouTube video or something like reach out to Ed about like I had that same thing because I remember we used it so much it broke. It actually wouldn't lock down anymore, so you
Oh,
actually had to
that's funny.
sit there and press it down. And if you let go, the VCR or the tape would pop back up again. So yeah,
I think ours were always worked, but my dad took care of it, and we couldn't touch it, so I think he did okay with that. But yeah, we had the little thing.
Oh, remember like renting a movie and like somebody else didn't rewind it and it like starts at the end or in the middle and you're like, oh, that guy
I
wasn't
would always be mad,
kind.
and I would always hope they got charged. I'm like, I hope they got charged the $2 because this is BS.
This is amazing, dude.
I miss those days. Like I know they're not gonna come back and stuff, but I definitely miss. I went to Blockbuster until they closed. Like I would still go like even the early 2000s when it was like really like I was like one of the last three people there. But I definitely I loved going there. I would have the same tradition because I had one like 5 minute walk from my house.
Yeah.
So I would go there, get a couple games, get a couple movies, whichever I was feeling, a couple snacks, and then when I actually had my full time job, which was when I was 18, I would also go. This is the next level. I'd go to the Pete's Market, which is like a grocery store near my. It's like a chain in Chicago and
Yeah.
stuff. I would go there and I would get like one of those $7 pies. So I'd come home with like 2 games, a pie, and some candy. I'm like,
Hell
let's
yeah.
go.
Oh man, that sounds. That
great.
was the thing. It was this whole ritual. Like
Experience, yeah.
and so what about like what about the condition of all of your games? So I was very particular especially when I started to own it. Like we always
Yeah.
rented stuff for birthday parties, but when it came time to the original Xbox and the Dreamcast, we owned it, and like my stuff was pristine, man. Like there was
Me too,
no
yeah.
leaving discs
I always took
around
care of-
anything.
Yeah. I was put the right disc in there, and everything was put away nicely. I had like little sections in my room for it. It's funny. I'm remembering now. I used to have like a big pewter, and I would just put them all like all the games on the right hand side, and the GameCube was up there. The GameCube was like, for me, that's my favorite era because I was still like, it's the last time you could call me a kid because I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
So before that, before that, I was really a kid. But that's like the last time where I'm like, I'm aware of everything. I'm almost an adult, but not quite, and I
Yep.
can still kind of literally play for hours with no consequence because all the only consequence I didn't do my homework. So it was like that's kind of like a sweet spot of I'm still a kid, but I'm old enough to kind of know what's up. So that's like my favorite era, and the games were great too. But yeah, that's what my fondest memories are from like that GameCube
I love
era.
that way of like looking at that. Like I've never really thought of it in that way of like what era, man. And even if I'm glad you're not asking me this question because I'm literally admitting to you like it would be putting me on the spot. I'm not sure what that would be. Like remembering a specific point in time where you're like I'm so aware that like I guess high school is kind of that by default that you know that like there's time that this time is coming to an end and that college or something else waits around the other corner and you don't
Right.
really know what that is. It's the first time that like life is gonna throw something completely different.
Well, you know
at
it's over, right? Before that,
Right.
everyone's telling you what to do. You're in kindergarten. You go to grammar school. You go to high school. After that, it's maybe/if. Maybe
kinda up
you
to
go to
you.
college. Yeah, maybe you go to college if you're smart enough, if you figured out the money. Maybe you go to work if you. So we don't know the answer till age 19.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Were
up
you
to
freaking
you.
out
and-
at that time?
No, I was pretty.
You had
I
your
was
plan?
a real. No.
Oh, okay.
I was a really bad. I was a really bad kid. I was really, really bad. Like the drinking, the smoking, the not doing homework. Like I was pretty much. I was about as bad as you could be. The only thing I didn't have was like a record or something. That's it. Like I didn't do
Right.
anything horrible. So no one was like I wasn't like unhireable or anything. But everything else was like a mess. Like straight D's. Didn't go to school. It was over. Life was done for me at 18. I was like, it's done. And then I just all I wanted to do was get a job. And then I got that retail job, the Walgreens job. And then that was kind of my life until like around the time I mentioned I was just playing the piano. That's when I kind of had like a epiphany. I was good at my job because I worked hard. I was like, whenever I said the classic thing everyone says, school's stupid. So when I have a job, I'm gonna work hard. But I actually did. I was legitimately like I was a good worker. I worked 40 hours. I was the best worker. I think I was at least one of the best, but I think I was the best. And I was on the rise. I was gonna move up and get promoted and all that stuff. And I was happy with that. But then like long story short, about 3 years in, me and my boss just started to have beef for whatever reason.
Yep.
He was just not getting along with me anymore. We went from like, he used to call me his son. He literally would call me his son. And I went from that to like, he doesn't like me anymore, and I'm getting the bad schedules. Like, you could just see the signs. Like, I was getting the bad schedules. Things would go wrong, and I would be blamed for it even if I wasn't me. And
do you know why that happened? Like, what caused the turn?
Basically, there was not a manager, but there was like an assistant who would take care of the schedule. And for whatever reason, I don't know why she felt that way, but all of a sudden she started not liking me as much. So then she started kind of putting in his head that, oh, it's Edwin who's doing this. It's Edwin who's doing that. And I didn't want to get in the bickering thing. I just took it. I was like, whatever. Like, I don't know why it's happening, but it's happening. And he believed her. So I was like, well, if you're that easily swayed, I'm not going to try to sway you back or whatever. So basically, I used to really like my job. I was happy with it. And then this stuff started happening, and it was no longer a place where I was having joy or just being like, hey, I'm working. It's all good. And I go home and I watch movies and stuff. So it's fun. It no longer became that. It became like a place of negativity and like just like anger and frustration. And it got to the point where I got like angry / depressed about it. And I was just in a really bad spot. And I realized that I didn't have my life together. That because this was the only job I had, I got it at 18. And I kept it till like at the time I was like 22.
Yep.
I realized, well, if this guy doesn't like me, he probably won't give me a recommendation. And since I don't have good grades or anything else, right? Because my grades aren't good, I have no other job experience. The only thing I can show on a resume, I can maybe not put. So you're right, I'm stuck. I'm really, really screwed. And the reason is because even though it was true that I worked hard, I didn't set up any other good, recommendations from anyone else. So I realized how far I was from just utter destruction, which was like this one guy controls my life. Like if he fires me and doesn't want to give me a recommendation, I'm basically a 22-year-old with nothing. So that really shook me. And I remember the day that it really hit me, because it's hit me, as you know, like anything else, depression or anything. It's not one day. It's just like a succession of weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there's like a boom point.
Wouldn't it be nice if it was just one day? You're like, oh, that's enough.
Yeah,
it's a 24-hour mental illness.
Yeah, it's done. But it stretches out through time.
Yeah.
So what happened was I was going through all this and frustrated and angry and realizing that I'm really screwed kind of. And then one day it was just like a night shift, 4 to 11 shift. I was putting up the bags of chips, like to filling up the shelf. And it was a Cheeto box. I was pulling out of a Cheeto box. And then I just realized my life was just a wreck. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so screwed. I'm here and I'm stuck and I'm screwed and I can't get out and I'm screwed. And one of my managers, he walked by, he did the classic, how's it going? But like how everyone says, just like, oh, good.
Yeah.
And I told him the truth. I'm like, to be honest, I'm not doing good. He's like, what's up? I'm like, what am I doing, man? I'm like, I'm 22. I'm working here full time. My boss doesn't like me. Like, what am I doing in my life? And he took it well. He's like, I know it's going to sound cliche, but I'm going to tell you the same thing I tell everyone else. What do you want to do?
Yeah.
And my answer was music. I'm like, music. I just want to do music. I don't know what I want to do in music, but I want to do music. He's like, well, then you should be working to that. And I'm like, okay. And then that day I started looking up colleges and it slowly started happening.
Dude, that story is like giving me chills, man. I absolutely love these moments in our lives where you can like pinpoint like the second. And you even remember the Cheetos that you were doing Cheetos at the time.
Yeah, Cheeto boxes, putting up Cheeto boxes. Yep.
And
bags in the Cheeto box. Yeah.
What if? Okay, so a couple things. Like it's just like I love this like cosmic stuff all coming together all at once for like this beautiful moment that like completely like change your trajectory. Like what if you don't get that shift? You said that somebody else was giving you like bad shifts, right? So now you're getting a shift like the 4 to 11, maybe less desirable than
the 8
wanted,
to 4.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're in the shift that you don't want to be in, but you're put there by somebody else who happens to be at the same time that somebody else is in that shift. Like what if you were perfectly happy, right? Like what if you were like you things went well with your boss and you're getting the shifts that you want, and like next thing you know you're working at Walgreens for the next 40 years maybe?
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
What? I've talked to like my family about this before, because people who know me well, and now you're one of them, and I guess all your viewership. Yeah. Because this isn't I don't tell everyone this story. I just tell people who are close to me. So it's you and your podcast family now knows this story, and my immediate family.
My favorite thing, by the way, when people say that, I never say this to anybody, but here we go.
Yeah, I never said it. Yeah, I never said it to anyone who wasn't like a close person.
Yeah,
but when that comes up, like, what if? I kind of know. I think what would have happened was, that job would have ended somehow, probably bad instead of how it ended, which is not too bad. Because I decided after that, okay, I put a plan together. As I told you, I worked there for 7 years. So if I knew this around 4 years, I still stuck around. But I did I changed stores and I adjusted my way. So I ended in a nice way compared to I probably would have just exploded one day and left like
Right.
really bad, right? It would have probably been ugly. So I'm glad it happened the way it did. But if it didn't happen that way, I think the worst thing that could have happened to me is what I at the time was begging for, which was a promotion. If I would have got a promotion, it would have been horrendous. I would have been making like 50K, totally happy, like, yes, I got it.
That's what I'm saying.
And I know exactly what would have happened. Eventually, I was going to get to the same conclusion that I didn't like what I did. It would just take me 3 or 4 more years, and I probably would have got deeper. Maybe I would have bought a home. Maybe I would have bought a new car, and I would have got more in trouble. So because now I know my truth is that I'm a creative person. I can't do that kind of job. I just cannot. I won't be happy. I won't be fulfilled. And if things would have been better, or if that would never happen, eventually I was going to come to the same conclusion. Eventually I was like, at the end of the day, I'm just counting the money and bagging groceries, and that's not what I want to do. Even if you do pay me enough, it's not going to satisfy me. So it would have probably been worse. It could have been worse. I could have, like you said, I could have
Because the
gotten.
stakes only get higher with every year in life. Stakes get higher
only get
and higher.
Yeah.
Dude, that
Maybe I
is.
would have had a kid and been like, I can't leave now, and then just like I would just felt even more trapped, or it would have just been a harder path. It was already a hard path. It took me like 6 years from the moment I realized. It took me 6 years to get my life together, and it took me 5 years more to leave that job. So it still took a while. Imagine if there were more barriers, it could have took even longer.
Do you ever think about, because you like really opened up to that manager at that point in time, and concerned about where you were in your life, to a person who probably was older, further along in their career as a manager at that company? Did you ever think about like, man, what does this kid like? What does this kid think about me? Like, I don't know if he's a 40-year-old manager, right?
No, he was like 25 or something. So he was pretty young.
Okay, so he's still kind of.
He did the grad school thing, and then he was rising up in the ranks pretty fast.
Right.
I was comfortable with him. I think that's one of the reasons why I said it. We talked about life stuff for the most part. He was a really good dude. His name was Bob, which is like a classic white name, but he was really cool. Yeah,
of course. Manager Bob. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, but he was really cool. We would talk music and life, so he made me comfortable enough to go that level. If it was someone else, just like you said, if it was someone else, like maybe some manager that we only talk about work with, I probably wouldn't have said anything. But since I felt like, you know what, I'm willing to risk telling you this, I didn't really think that way, but that's because he made me feel like I didn't have to think that way. So yeah, so it was great that he was there, because who knows what would have happened.
Okay, so then you said your next steps were like looking up different schools and things like that. Like, so like what was the journey like beyond? You said a long time, and like
6 years.
Yeah, man. And that, so with the journey that long, like maybe there's like, are there false starts? Are there like change of direction? Like, okay, I'm going to do music, but like what, like that could mean a trillion different things. As I said, my brother became like, he wanted to learn all the things, and then he wanted to get really deep into theory. And then it's like, so he studied up from an academic standpoint on music, and then went to turn like, well, how do I make money on this?
Monetize this,
right?
yes,
Like, how do you make a living on, like at a certain point, I think a lot of us who go to school, university, realize I can't do this forever. I got to like finally get my piece of paper. And then
I try to tell people that. That's another. I'll come back to that in a little bit. But to answer your first question, I was really lucky. I think the good news about my life is that I made so many mistakes early that once I turned that switch on, like, I'm gonna be serious. I was super, like, I had an epic run after that. It was kind of like,
it runs in your family though, man. Like, let's be honest.
It's like you had one life left in, like, you know, like you're fighting a boss. You're like, I only got one life, and then you just go on a mad run and you do what you never did. It was like that.
Pressure's on, yeah, man.
Yeah, so the pressure was on. It's like, okay, you already screwed up all of high school, all of grammar school, your work you hate. You have no more. Even though I was 22, I felt like I was 32. I'm like, you got no more chances,
right?
You know. So I took it really seriously. So I actually got lucky on everything else. I think I made all the relatively right moves after that.
Did you have somebody guiding you along though? Like, were you still?
You know, like Janet, which was crazy, because Janet was, you know, she's 6 years younger than me. She's like a high school freshman, and I'm telling her like my life's unfulfilled and I need help. And she was like, she was really cool. I wish I could dig up the emails, but she was emailing me schools, like maybe this music school would be good. I didn't pick any of those schools, but it was nice to get that kind of support, you know. And I didn't have it from anyone else, because my dad kind of already gave up on me. Like, he loved me, but he's like, you're a loser. I love you, but you're a loser. So, you know,
but like this daughter of mine, like, she's doing pretty great.
Yeah. He's like, I gave up, but I still love you, and hope that one day you prove me wrong. And my mom was kind of the same way. So I didn't have too many people on my side, because I already showed them that you're not an academic person. You literally have been getting D's all of high school. You never went. I had like 123 absences. Like, I literally didn't go. So it was like, what would make me think you're going to do college, which is a harder level, seriously? Like, I have no evidence to prove that you would do that, you know. So, but I did, and I was serious. So basically, I just picked a community college in my area because I couldn't. There's no way a university would take me. I had a 0.93 GPA. So. So yeah, no one's gonna take me. There's no chance. But so I had to go to community college, which I was fine with. Cause I'm like, okay, let's do it. I was like, I'm willing to do whatever, because I'm not gonna be doing the grocery thing anymore. I can't. So you said I gotta go to another school first. Cool. I went there. I was supposed to go there for 2 years. I went for 3, but that was just because basically the way their system was set up, I didn't take the right classes to graduate on time for 2 years, so I had to stay an extra year. So it was a little annoying, but that wasn't a really big hurdle. That was probably the only mistake.
What about the age though? Like, so you're probably starting college or university at about
22. Yeah.
So like
community college, yeah.
Yeah, like so I guess maybe you're still kind of within the realm of like other kids who are still about that age.
Oh yeah. No one really noticed that I was old. And even when I went to, because I eventually did go to university and graduate there, it's funny, they thought I was their age. When I joined, because I went to Harold Washington College, which was my community college. I went there for 3 years, and then I graduated and went to University of Illinois at Chicago, UIC, here in Chicago, obviously. And when I went there, I think I was in my first year. They thought I was a sophomore because I was considered a transfer student because I transferred from community to 4-year. And then I remember one time I mentioned how old I was like, oh, I'm an old guy. And then like the freshman is like 19. He's like, you're only a year older than us. And I'm like, oh no, I'm 25. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm 25 years old. Dude, I am not a year older.
I specifically remember a conversation I was having with somebody when I was in like my first or second year of college. And I remember specifically talking to this person like, man, I just turned 24. And I was like 19 at the time. And I'm like, 24, like, holy, how do you even
dead,
like live? Yeah, I know. Like, man, you're older than the dirt that you sleep on, man. Like that age was just like it's like a 6-year-old looking at like a 10-year-old and thinking like that's a grown up.
I remember when I was 18, I used to think I was old. Yeah. I literally thought it. Me and my friends used to think we were old. And I remember having those conversations. We would be talking about our older brothers. I didn't have older brothers. We talk about older people who'd be like, you're just a kid. I'm like, I'm 18. I'm old. Yeah. And I literally thought that. And it's so funny to think that now.
Why do you think? Yeah, because I did the exact same thing. And it's this like pattern of like 20 years old, you think you know everything. 30 years old, you know nothing.
You want maturity and you want to say that you're part of it. So like you're part of the adult community, like that's what all kids kind of strive for. You always want to be the big brother, the older person. Oh, I'm in 6th grade, I'm not a baby anymore. You know, I'm in high school, I'm not a baby anymore. I'm out of high school, I'm not a baby anymore. Like you keep fighting for adulthood because in general, I think in society we have a bad thing of we downplay youth. You know, what do people call Fortnite? A baby game. Like right away, it's like an insult to youth. So because of that, when you're growing up, you're trying to get out of youth. You want to become older because no one makes fun of adults. They make fun of kids. And when you talk about something that's bad, you call it a baby thing. You're acting childish, right? It's always a negative. So I think when we're growing up, we're trying to fight that. We're like, no, if that's childish, then I'm not going to embrace my childness. I want to embrace my adulthood, even if I don't have it yet.
My mind is like completely blown. Where does this like sage wisdom come from, man? I thought you were a bad student.
Age, like, well, I was, but I learned after that. Yeah. So.
But like the experience has to come like this. I don't know, man. I don't know exactly what even the question is, but like this has to come from. Is it just like self-taught, like self-learning of like?
Yeah, I did a lot of self-learning too. Yeah. Before I went to college, I already started to I did a lot of back when History Channel had like a lot of documentaries. I would just watch a lot of documentaries and read a lot of stuff and just try to. I'm like, I was missing everything because I didn't go to school, so I'm like, I don't know anything. So I had to kind of pick up as much knowledge as I could, and I actually did like it once I actually embraced it. I was like, oh, it's kind of cool to learn stuff and just get these opportunities to learn things at a higher level. So actually. It's funny, once you actually try, you actually find that it's actually not so bad.
I love that, man. Holy, I've had a couple of those good moments today. This has been incredible. I wanted to ask you about like kind of like your day-to-day now. So you did the college thing, you graduated. So like where did that end up putting you here in 2018?
Right. So I'm similar to your brother where I would say my time's kind of split. It's like 40% practicing, 40% teaching, 20% composing and other like music stuff. So yeah, that's where it kind of left me where right now I choose to kind of like your brother did. I'm like the monetization of it's probably best right now the teaching route. Yep. I'm working on starting in the next year. I'm going to be doing a lot more video game music, so that's going to be interesting. So I want to kind of do more composing side, and I do want to do performance more because I do play a lot and I can play at a high level. So it's a little bit of everything. So my time the day's kind of crazy. It starts like at 6 a.m. and I'm practicing in the morning. And then after that, like I kind of take like a quick nap, rest up. The afternoon I go teach, and then depending on the day, I either come back to play some more, or I go to a show, or I try to squeeze another hour of composing in. And that's kind of every day. So it's really fun, but yes, it's very tiring.
It's a grind.
But yeah, it's definitely a grind. But I enjoy it and I love it, and it's awesome. So yeah, that's kind of how my day-to-day goes.
I have to imagine that. So my brother left the city that we live in. He lives in Vancouver now, which is like that's like musician center. It's like very artistic, very West Coast.
I heard there
kind of
and
thing.
Toronto are like the two places to go for music.
Especially in Canada, like you gotta like
Yeah.
pretty much for anything really. Like if you want to go like big time for mostly anything, I'm gonna upset maybe a few Canadians here, but like pretty much like Vancouver, Toronto are like the world class type of cities.
It's just people get mad at that stuff. I'm from Chicago, and the Midwest, we have that. People are like, hey, I'm like, the point is that it's not. If I could just go anywhere and make a living, I would consider other places, but it's just that's where the people are. Like you need to have people because that means there's business, there's opportunities. So yeah, it makes sense. I know people get frustrated. And I feel for them, but I'm like, I'm not going to try this in Kansas because the amount of people I can potentially like my numbers are dwindled.
Yep.
Could I make it there? Maybe. But I know I can make it here because there's plenty of people and I can do more work. So yeah, that's why the big cities. Unfortunately, that's kind of how it works.
What's the scene like? Like if you walk down the street, or like if you wanted to like go get a gig, like kind of describe what's the music scene, the live scene like in Chicago.
Well, I primarily play at this point right now jazz music, so the scene's pretty good. We're like one of the probably top 3 to 5 in the country, so it's a pretty good scene. But there's a different amount of gigs, right? Like it just depends what you want to do. Like there's about 10 really pristine jazz clubs, but they're probably hard to get into because you got to be one of the big boys there. But there's other gigs. There's like weddings, there's like birthdays, there's like holiday events, there's coffee shops and restaurants, and because of all those, when you really start thinking outside the box too, I couldn't do this gig, but I got a gig the other day. My friend messaged me. They're like, "Oh, can you play at Menards for like 3 hours?" And I'm like, "That sounds awesome. You can just play whatever you want, just jazz music on the piano." But he couldn't do it. But unfortunately, I was out of town, so I'm like, I can't do it either. But I'm like, oh, I would love to have done that Menards gig because it's like a home improvement warehouse store. So it's just been playing some sweet tunes there.
Why did they need that?
I'm not sure. I think they have it every
strange.
Sunday or something. Yeah, they just people like the music there. It's like a tradition on Sundays. I guess they have like a piano come in and play. So I was gonna do that gig, but I couldn't because I was actually out of town last week. I went to a Missouri Game Conference, the Mo Games Con in St. Louis. So that was fun, but unfortunately that means I couldn't take the gig. But it's stuff like that.
But what was that like? Hang on, I want to talk about. I have 2 things I want to talk to you before we close things out. I want to do this Missouri Game Con, and then I want to talk to you about jazz and improvisation and things like that because I think there's a language to that. So talk to me about this game conference. Like, how did what was that? What is it even like? Is it a huge thing? Like, how did you end up getting to go? Have you been before? Those sorts of things.
I haven't been there before. But Janet was like, "Hey, I want to go. What do you think?" And I'm like, "Yeah, let's go." Because she doesn't. I don't know if you know, but she doesn't drive. So to go to something like outside of our city that far, she probably needs help. Or if I couldn't do it, she could decide, "Hey, do I bus it? How do I get there?" So I'm like, "Yeah, let's go. Let's do it." So I went as a fan, and obviously she goes there as the kind of basically like a personality and a journalist.
Yep.
Yeah, she's going to cover exactly. So yeah, so we went there and it was pretty fun. It was only one day, but it was a hardcore day. It had like a bunch of big YouTubers, like Metal Jesus was there, and all his people were there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they had it's basically like a big almost like a swap meet inside. So they had like a bunch of games, and people were trading and buying stuff and playing. So yeah, it was a really fun time. Hanged out with some people that we knew like on the internet who were gamers in the Midwest and stuff like that. So that was good. Then we ate, and it was a really nice experience.
I love that, man. Just like dedicate a day to being like a total nerd, and it's like come home.
If someone likes video games and hasn't gone to any kind of conference, I strongly recommend you do it. You might think it's silly, and I went to the Midwest one with Janet as well. That was like a 3-day. I really only went to support her. I didn't care at all. I was like, I'm just going to be nice and stuff. But then when I went, it was fun. And yeah, you buy a couple games and like you would think like, oh, who cares? But no, like kind of like with the experience we're talking about, you go, you meet people, you start mingling. Indies are trying to show you their game, and then they have pinball machines, and then like next thing you know, you're having a blast and you're buying stuff you shouldn't be buying,
Yes, you get so totally swept up in the whole moment and the environment and everything.
Then especially if it's a different city or something, you're like, oh, let's go eat at this one place, and then you're checking out. Now you're traveling and you're just getting a little more culture. Like, oh, I've never been in this city before. They got some nice stuff. They got a nice river, blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, you have a great time, and it's like, it was a blast. So I definitely recommend if someone's like kind of hesitant on that, like I don't like to do that, I think try it once and then get back to me.
It should be on every gamer's, every nerd's bucket list, even if you're like kind of just a little bit of a nerd.
Like I said, do it once, and if
totally,
if you don't like it, cool, but do it once and tell me, because I think most people would be surprised. I know I was. Now I really like it, and I try to go to I'm going to try to go to as many as I can, within reason and stuff. But they were really fun. I definitely recommend that one. And just find one. Everyone has some type of conference.
I definitely need to find something more game, because I've been to Comic-Con a couple of times. I've been to New York a few times. I went to San Diego once. I don't even do comics at all.
You did do Comic-Con. I saw it on your other podcast.
Yeah, so it's excellent. But I wanted to ask you one more thing, as I'm realizing that my son is cutting his nap short. So I wanted to ask you one other thing about jazz and improvisation and getting your sense of, like, and talking about that 3-hour gig that you could have done. I'm reminded of my brother's wedding. He had one of his musician friends, because that's all they all mingle together, right? One of his friends, he had him just like play like background music the whole time, and he was playing for probably like between 3 to 5 hours or something. I can't even remember. He was just playing, right? And so he wasn't even like, he had nothing in front of him. He was just either playing songs that he had memorized or just making things up off the top of your head. And the people around their table was going like, were asking, non-musicians were asking some of the musicians about like, how could you even do that? And somebody had described music to me in a way that, like, sort of the way that you and I are having a conversation, where you just like you have certain words to convey certain storytelling or things. Like, is that kind of how you approach like music and improvisation? Is there something to that, or did this guy just like make this up on the spot?
No, he's 100% right. It is like a language, and it is like, right now I don't know the next words that come out of my mouth. I'm just kind of working through it. So it's the same thing. It seems crazy because like, how's that possible? But it just takes time, and you start developing a language. You start listening to other people, and it helps you develop yours. Depending on that kind of gig, I think there's two ways to approach a gig like that. If you told me, hey, just play for 5 hours, I'm either going to do, I'll probably do a combination. Personally, I know about 70 songs from memory. So that would easily be enough for the 5 hours.
Oh, wow.
And those are jazz songs. So when you add the solos, I can probably do like, it depends, 6 to 8 songs an hour. So I would get through like 24 or something for like 3-4 hours. So I definitely have another 30-40 in my back catalog. So I would probably do a combination of that. And if it really is background music, then I would just start to improvise. I would just start going through tonal centers and different keys and just kind of filling up stuff. Do you
like learn, like, do you start going like, man, maybe I'll just like try out a thing? Like, is it borderline trying something that might not even work, or are you more going?
For sure.
Yeah, that's so sweet, man.
Yeah, you take the risk. It depends on how creative you are. I know some people struggle with this, especially even good musicians. I know really great musicians. They're like, I can't think of anything. I'm like, you just gotta, kind of like anything else, you just gotta go. I'm like, I'll start something like, okay, we're just gonna play everything in G that we can, or I'm just gonna move in thirds and just see when I hear something cool, and then
I'm
do
the same thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Same. Yeah. So it's so it's something like that. You just gotta put. If you have no creativity, then put yourself in a box. Like, I'm just gonna play the black keys. What's that? What happens there? I'm just gonna stay here, or I'm gonna, go in opposite directions on both hands until something sounds cool, and then riff off that. And it's just kind of how you have to go through it if you're really improvising. If you have a song, it's a lot easier because it already has predetermined harmony, so you just gotta go along with that. But if you don't have any music and you're like, just play, that's really what you have to do. So that's kind of how that works.
Hey, Edwin, can you let anybody know, like, do you have music available? You said you have some stuff on YouTube. Is there a place that people can find the music, and also you on Twitter and all those things? Yeah.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, it's all the same. E Plays Chords. So that's where you can find me on all that. My YouTube channel, I think it's still called Edwin Garcia Music. I'll link it to you if you want it.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put it in the show notes for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Let me see what it's called. Yeah, Edwin Garcia Music. I only have 10 subs, so I could definitely use
We'll get you at least to 15. I can promise you
There we
that.
go. Okay, got it. So, and I definitely would love to be back on, maybe sometime halfway through next year or something like that, because I want to do more video game music. That's kind of where my focus is going towards.
Hit me up, man. Definitely.
I want to make some indie music and really do some more tracks, and I'm gonna start a podcast on video game music specifically in a couple months. So
come back
I would
on
ask
when
you
you're
for
ready
advice,
to do it.
but I
No, let's do
already
it.
know what you're gonna say. I gotta make 10 before I come to you.
Yeah, but I
so
can still
I'm
get
gonna
you
wait
set up.
till-
I can still help you with
okay, cool.
I'll get you all the programs, everything you need, and then in terms of like, yeah, you'll learn. You know, man, you just like you do it.
I'll make 10, and then we'll talk
That's so
about
funny,
how
man.
it's going.
It's funny because I do this and I pretend that nobody listens, and then somebody will like remind me of something that I said. I'm like, oh yeah, shit. Some people actually listen to this.
Yeah,
So
I heard you. I'm like,
that's the
okay, I
thing.
gotta make 10, and then
We'll
get back to
we'll get
Sean
you
and-
started. We won't make you like I'll make sure that you can actually record, which I'm sure you're already on your way. So, Edwin, this was amazing, man. I am so sorry that we're gonna actually have to we're just gonna abruptly cut this. My son is just up, like he is.
Oh, that's crazy.
He's trying to yell at me that he's
wow,
we're good.
It looks like a horror movie from here.
I know.
I see my reflection, and I see a being moving, and I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, he's awake. So thank you so much, man. This was absolutely eye opening, and just I had a couple of those like great just chills moments. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah, it was fun.
Thanks, man. I'm always so impressed by people who just want to they acknowledge a situation or an opportunity and they go, you know what, I'm just gonna do that. I'm just gonna do. They make up their mind and they have a plan and they make it happen. I was so impressed with Edwin, and that was his music, by the way. We did get his Zelda song at the start of the show. In case you guys didn't maybe put that together, I'm sure you did because you're so smart. That's why you listen to this show. Every Monday. Thank you to Edwin. You can guys follow him at ePlays Chords. Right as soon as literally that was the end of the conversation because Lincoln was freaking the F out. His nap time is all over the place. So if you guys are maybe even slated to be a guest and you've seen or you've been on the show in the last couple of weeks, you've seen me reschedule some of the shows, I apologize. I'm trying to make it all work. This is absolutely daytime is definitely the best time for me. I'm a nightmare at night. Also trying to do the streams at night too. So just trying to balance it all out. So thank you guys so much. No OC remix this time. That was Edwin Garcia at the top. If you guys like the show and you haven't already, rate us on iTunes. Me, I guess this show, us, that sounds weird. On Google Play, you can leave a thumbs up on the video at youtube.com/WeTheNerdy. Follow me on Twitter at Sean Capri, Sean like Connery, Capri like the pants. I nailed it this time. You can follow the show at WeTheGamerCast. And remember, you can follow and support myself, PSVG, Warp Whistle, Nintendo Nostalgia, Bad Bit Games, the Trophy Room podcast, so much, guys. Incredible stuff happening at patreon.com/makeusbetter. And we're also kind of meeting every once in a while. We're we gotta make this thing the best thing ever. So I want you guys to know that we're taking this very, very seriously. It's not just we're making stuff and then hoping people throw money at it. We're talking every single moment of every single day to try and make this thing the best Patreon on the freaking internet. So thank you guys so much for all of your support. I want to thank Gary Gray and Adam Leonard for drawing all the things, and our amazing video designer, Antonio Gian. I hope you're well, my friend. I feel like I just kind of raced through all that stuff. I kind of want to listen. There's another Megadads coming up. You guys can come on the Discord. I don't really ever mention that too. This is kind of awkward though. I probably should have planned something else. This is also where I could maybe just grab something from my shelf and show you guys. Rybo's favorite topic is when Sean grabs stuff off the shelf. But now that's the end because this is episode 167. Time for Jason. It's time for Jason. I'll be back next week. I hope you're there too. It's time for Jason. Here he comes. You ready for it? It's about to happen. It's about to happen. I need to tighten this end part up. There's too much silence here until Jason happens right now. Nope. Now.
Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Sean, where are you? Jason! 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 Sean! 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 Jason! 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 Jason!